we need focus on the current affairs. So we will be targeting all the relevant current affairs, and second, in the current affairs we will be limiting. Hello everyone, welcome to Plutus IAS. As we discussed in the first class that we are going to follow a particular approach for discussing science and technology part in our classes. In that series, today is our second lecture. In the second lecture, as I promised, we will be discussing about PYQ from the prelims perspective, and without wasting time, let us discuss about the how UPSC asked what it stated. UPSC states in the prelims syllabus that it is focusing on the general awareness of the candidate in the general science. We will first understand what it means by general awareness. General awareness means whichever topic we are covering in the science and technology part, it will be covered without much depth. No doubt it is a subjective term, as I will be assisting you in deciding what would be the appropriate depth of knowledge required for a particular topic. Yet in most of the themes, most of the topics, our depth will be superficial only. Why? Because UPSC requires knowledge, wide spectrum of knowledge with limited depth of knowledge, limited depth. That's why we will be covering number of topics from the UPSC perspective, so that we are having a greater knowledge base, but we will be limiting our depth. This is the meaning of general awareness, which a person's get by reading any newspaper or any news article or any book, and it is the concern of everyone. General means any person can understand that part, that theme. And the second is the general science. General science, it covers your NCERT from class 6th to class 12th with some exceptions. In the class 11th and the class 12th, we will be covering topics from the UPSC perspective. I will be deciding for you which topics we will be covering for the NCERT and which we are leaving from the class 11th and the class 12th. That we will discuss in the further lectures. In today's lecture, I will be discussing about various questions that UPSC has asked in the year 2022. As mentioned by me in my first class, UPSC has asked 13 questions in the year 2022 from the science and technology part, and that's why it is a very significant number of questions in the prelims exam, and we are required to study it thoroughly. So, if you look at the first question, while discussing all these questions, we will be discussing all the parts which we discussed about the approach and the challenges, and we will be applying our approach which we stated in the first lecture. First part is like which of the following is the context in which the term qubit is mentioned. You see, the level of knowledge required to solve this question is very superficial. As mentioned by me, depth will be limited, but the spectrum will be broad. Here, by this question, we should understand two things. One thing is that for the emerging technologies, we need focus on the current affairs. So, we will be targeting all the relevant current affairs, and second, in the current affairs, we will be limiting our depth. There is no point in giving student large number of information which he or she cannot process. And if we leave that excess of information, and if we provide you relevant information, that will be much more beneficial for you in the exam hall. And that will also reduce the confusion you will be having in the exam hall. We will be covering things very briefly, very crisp, very precise, so that you will not be having any confusion later on. Here, qubit. if we know about the qubit, it's a unit of information that is processed by the quantum computers. Quantum computing is a branch of science which uses a specific technology, qubits, for the processing. We will be discussing it in detail. Here I am discussing all these questions only to tell you where to focus and how to focus, like general current affairs, and the depth will be very superficial. Here the right answer would be quantum computing. With that much limited information, you are getting 2 marks. See, this is what I told you about the approach. Wide spectrum of knowledge. First question will require that spectrum only without much depth. And the second question is, consider the following communication technologies. Before that, we have to read the question carefully. Carefully, I mean, there is one saying we say, read between the lines. What it means? It means that while you read the question, you target the keywords and the key command as well, whether it is stating which of the following is correct or incorrect. Okay. Here we have to find out the correct statements from the given statements. And the main keyword here is the short range devices technology. When we will be studying in the class, we will be defining all the key terms very precisely, very concisely. Preciseness is required in the exam hall. How? I will be stating this point here. Short range devices. If you know precisely what I mean by short range devices, these are wireless devices. Wireless devices meant for short range communication. How short? Around 6 inch or maybe slightly longer, but I am just giving you an idea. And along with that, you are required to know what are the different short range technologies. With the definition, if you know the definition, you can assume, you can imagine what it can be. If you read the given options with the present knowledge of the only definition part, then you can solve this part. CCTV, we know CCTV only up to a limited area. We are using CCTV cameras in our homes, in offices. We know that we can keep that network only for a short distance, and that's why it would be right. Second option is RFID, radio frequency identification, that is used in number of things. And if you know RFID, here also we use radio frequency with a shorter frequency, lower frequency, because we want it to work for a short range, and it also covers, it also included under the short range devices. Similarly, wireless local area network, this does not require any justification because it is directly can be extrapolated from the definition. So I am just giving you the idea how preciseness of the simple concept we can help us in solving a question in the exam hall. We don't require much information to solve a question. We require preciseness of information, and we will be targeting that preciseness in our classes. We will be covering every topic very briefly so that you will enjoy the study and you will understand the topic from the UPSC exam perspective. And then the third question, again it is a statement related with the biofilm. When we study any topic, we will try to cover basic things. Biofilm, as the term states, it is a combination of bio and the film. And bio here means living organisms, okay, living microbes, living microbes. With this bifurcation, it denotes it is a layer, it is a assemblage of the microbial bacteria, microbial organisms over a substance, okay. And this assemblage, this layer we call biofilm. For example, a plague on the teeth. Plague on the teeth is an example of biofilm. With that much information, we can solve this question. If we look at the options, we will be able to solve it very clearly. We should know one more information related with that. All the living organisms require some nutrients and a supply of nutrients from the present ecosystem or the environment in which they are present. So this is like common understanding. With this combination of information, we will be able to solve this question. Biofilm can form on medical implants within a human tissue, as stated by me. Like someone is having a rod in his leg, okay, and if there is a bacterial infection, it can get layered on that rod. So this statement becomes right. Second statement is biofilms can form on food and the food processing surfaces. This I stated you just now, because they require nutrient to sustain themselves. If there is underlying food or a substrate from which they can garner their nutrient, then they can also survive there. So it can be formed on those places as well. Similarly, on the third statement, biofilms can exhibit antibiotic resistance. If we know what is biofilm, biofilm means a layer of living microbes, living bacteria, and we know this antibiotic resistance is a term only in context to bacteria. If bacteria becomes resistant to the available antibiotics, we call them antibiotic resistance, and it can happen if the bacteria are present anywhere, then they can also become resistant to the antibiotic. It's a kind of like general connotation from the definition only. So with that limited information, we will be able to solve this question also. This is again, I am repeating, we need precise information, and we will be covering that precise information in the class. Again, the fourth question, consider the following statements in the respect of probiotics. Here, probiotics are, probiotics preciseness, we will see preciseness, how preciseness will solve this question. Probiotics. We generally know doctors prescribe probiotics. What are these? These are combination of beneficial bacteria and the yeast, which are naturally present in the human beings. If you look at all the words, combination of the words, these are very precise. I will tell you how. It includes living bacteria, beneficial, plus yeast, plus naturally present in the human beings. Naturally present in the human body. If we know this precise definition, then we can solve the given question. Information is very limited. Now look at the question. Probiotics are made of both bacteria and the yeast. As I stated, it is a combination of living bacteria and the yeast. First statement is right. And the second statement is the organisms in probiotics are found in foods we ingest, but they do not naturally occur in our gut. If we look at the third part of our definition, then this statement is wrong. They are naturally present in our gut. This is what I stated in my definition. And the third statement is probiotics help in digestion of milk sugars. This requires slightly deeper information. If we read any probiotic drink or tablet, for example, Yakult milk. This is common probiotic drink we are using nowadays. In the Yakult milk, we are having a culture of lactobacillus or similar kind of bacteria. This is a general understanding that they are sweet in taste. They are fermented milk. and if we see, they are fermented milk. The bacteria present in that milk, they facilitates the digestion of the sugars, milk sugars present in that drink. So this requires slightly extended knowledge that will come from the current affairs part, and we are going to cover both static and the current affairs. That's why I told you in the science and technology we are required to correlate with the current affairs part. If we are studying only the static part, we will not be able to perform well in the exam hall. That's what I stated in my first lecture. And then comes the next question. There were few vaccines which were manufactured to prevent COVID-19 pandemic. In this question, I also discussed a statement of this question in my first lecture. What was that statement? Related with the Serum Institute of India, it prepared COVID-19 vaccine named Covishield using mRNA platform. These are the questions which require you slightly deeper level of information. That level of information or knowledge that will be told to you by me, because I will be assisting you to decide, to define where you have to limit yourself. Here, first you must know about the mRNA. Then you should know about how the mRNA is used to prepare vaccines. That is a big topic. We will be covering it in a separate lecture, and here this statement becomes wrong. Why? Because the name of the vaccine is stated right. This is right, and Serum Institute is also right, but it did not use mRNA technology in its vaccine. Okay, it used vector in the form of influenza virus, in which the protein code of the COVID virus was used. So that is a different technology. We will be discussing in detail how it was used, how it was prepared. So this statement was wrong, but I am just telling you the level of information it requires to solve this question is very deep. It requires thorough understanding of various types of nucleic acids ranging from mRNA, DNA, how they works, how they are used for the formulation of the vaccines. So this statement becomes wrong. If we go by this, then the option becomes 2B. Sometimes even if you don't know the complete information of all the statements given in the question, then also you can get your question right. How? You have to be very vigilant, very alert. This is the meaning of my statement. Read between the lines. For example, if you knew that this vaccine was not mRNA platform based vaccine, then you did not need to see any other option. You will get it right by seeing the options, because only in one option is without statement 1. So the right answer becomes the B part. That will be also taken into consideration while solving the paper in the UPSC. And the next question is, if a major solar storm reaches the earth, which of the following are the possible effects on the earth? Same approach which I just mentioned in the question number 5. After eliminating first statement, that can also be applied in this question. If we look at the various statements given in this question, then we can easily eliminate the second statement. What the second statement says? Tsunamis could occur at the equatorial regions. There is no correlation between solar flare, solar storms and the tsunamis. So this statement should not be in our answer. If we look at the options, there is only one option which does not include second statement, and that option is C. You can see we can easily solve this kind of these kind of questions by simple trick, by simple becoming more observant while solving the questions. And the next question is, which one of the following statements best describes the role of B cells, T cells in the human body? For this question, we require information, and that is also required up to a level of medium depth. Like it does not require very deep information, but it requires a medium kind of depth in the topic. For example, if we look at the B and T cells, we have to go back to the basics. Different blood cells we should know. Here blood cells are the RBCs, we know red blood cells, white blood cells, and we know platelets. These are the three different kinds of blood cells. Under the WBCs, white blood cells, there is further three types of cells. What are these? Lymphocytes, granulocytes, and one is there, lymphocytes, granulocytes, monocytes. And if we look at the lymphocytes, lymphocytes are of two types. Lymphocytes are two types, B cells, T cells. You see, there is a depth of information, but there is further, there can be further layer of information. We have to limit our information up to this level. This understanding will come with experience or with a proper reading and assessment of the previous year question papers. Here B cells, T cells are like immune work with for the immunity. They help you guard against the infections. For example, B cells will help you by attacking bacterial or the viruses which enter in your body. B cells. T cells, while they attack your body cells, for example the cancerous cells or the cells in which there are viruses present inside your body. So this is the basic difference between the B cells and the T cells. They help in your immunity, but there is a basic difference. While reading science and technology topics, we will be using comparative study because there are a number of concepts which are similar or analogical. If we study all those concepts in a comparative way, we will be able to understand the basic difference and we will not be confused in the exam hall. We will be taking care of all these things while studying any topic. Here the next question. Question number 8. It is related with the nanoparticles. Just a precise definition it requires. What are nanoparticles? Nanoparticles, as we bifurcate it, nano plus particle. Nano is a term which denotes particular dimensions. It covers particles between 1 to 100 nanometer. We know 1 nanometer is equal to 10 to the power minus 9 meter. So all the particles which fall in this size range, we call them nanoparticles. Now this is a generic term. It may include anything like the bacteria, virus, any metal particles, dust particles. So this is a kind of generic term used for all the particles, and all these together make a complete part of a science, a complete applied discipline under science. We call that nanotechnology. And with this much information, we can solve this question. How? Other than those made by humans, nanoparticles do not exist in nature. This is wrong. We know number of examples like nanourea. This is a term much in the news, nanourea. And second, we know carbon nanotubes. You can see how the current affairs based knowledge is helping you by deciding the given statement is right or wrong. So we must link static with the dynamic part. Here the do not exist, it becomes wrong, as we have a number of examples that other than human nanoparticles, we are having different nanoparticles existing. Second statement, nanoparticles of some metallic oxides are used in the manufacture of some cosmetics. This statement is also right. How? We know there are number of cosmetic articles like sunscreens. If you read any sunscreen ingredient, you will find that it contains zinc oxide, titanium oxide. These are the nanoparticles. They prevent your body from the harmful solar radiations, sun rays. So this statement is right. And from where you are able to solve this statement? From the current affairs based knowledge. Like intermixing of the information is required to solve a question. You cannot be mechanical while solving a question that this information is not covered under a particular topic. You should be able to correlate different concepts, different information you have studied anywhere. By this interlinking, you will be more robust in solving the questions. And the third statement, nanoparticles of some commercial products which enter the environment are unsafe for the humans. As I stated, nanoparticles can be in the form of dust. For example, a disease, silicosis. We know silicosis is a disease of the lungs, human lungs. When a person working in a cement factory or in a polluted environment, he inhales silicon particles of the nano size and he may become sick. So third statement is also right. And accordingly, we know 2 and the 3 and the right answer would be D only. So here we see how much current affair based knowledge is required to solve this question. So we cannot underestimate linking of the static part with the dynamic part. And again, next question is 9th question, DNA barcoding. DNA barcoding, DNA profiling, DNA fingerprinting. These are similar concepts. While studying a concept, we must study all the parallel concepts, because after studying all the related concepts together at the same place at the same time, we can eliminate the confusion, and that confusion will arise if we will not study in a comparative manner, and that comparative manner we will be covering in the class. Here DNA barcoding, if I try to give a small idea about that, when we go a supermarket, in the supermarket generally the vendor tries to differentiate between the products by scanning the product, barcode on the given product. And similarly, DNA barcoding tries to differentiate between the species. Here the key understanding should be it is used to differentiate between the species. While DNA fingerprinting or DNA profiling is a forensic technique in which we identify the sequence of the DNA, sequence of the nitrogenous species of the DNA, and by identifying or characterizing the sequence of the DNA, we can help to identify various paternal suits. Like in the scenes of the crime, we generally take the DNA of the suspect and we try to match it with the suspect from the crime scene. Okay. All these things can be used by the DNA fingerprinting. Here DNA fingerprinting is focused more on an individual, not on the species. Fine. If we know this difference, then we can solve this question here only, and along with that similar kind of number of questions can be solved if we know this basic information here. No doubt it requires first every information related with the DNA. What is DNA? As I stated, structure, various kinds of nitrogenous bases, and the various processes used for the DNA barcoding. All this requires, but we also need some comparative information here with the DNA fingerprinting. If we look at the statements, assess the age of plant or animal. As I stated, it's a kind of identifying which product is of which company. So first statement is wrong. It is not related with the age. You cannot determine the age of any plant or animal with the DNA barcoding. From where you got this information? By understanding the basic information related with this term. So preciseness of information is required while solving the science and technology questions. Similarly, distinguish among species that look alike. Right. This information which I just shared This is the main use of this DNA barcoding. Identify undesirable animal plant materials in the processed foods. Yes, like the third statement generally originating from the second statement only. So this is also right. 2 and 3 right. Right answer would be D only. And the next question, consider the following. And the here keyword is the open source digital platforms. Here we must know what are the open source digital platforms. If we try to bifurcate or divide the given term, open source. We know the software is developed by a company or the government. If government is developing, that will be used for the public purpose only. And for developing a software, there is a coding at the back end. What is the coding? Coding is a program by which you develop certain functions, certain designs in the program you run on your computer or a device. And while developing that code can be a private property of a private organization, or it can be kept open for the public. If it is kept open for the public, we call it open source. Open source, digital here means digital technologies. Okay. In all these applications, the code which is used to create these applications, that is freely available in the public domain for the modifications, alterations. So these all are right, and the right answer would be D. Before coming on these options, we must know the basic information related with the open source digital platforms. That's why I told you preciseness of information is paramount while studying science and technology part. And in the next question, with reference to Web 3.0, see, I stated you a basic concept. After the basic concept, we will be covering all the developments till date. What did I mean about that? From that, I meant like Web 3.0. We know what is web. Web is World Wide Web. It is a network of all the public websites or the pages which you access through the use of internet. Clear? This is the definition of web. Web 3.0 is the third generation of World Wide Web. Clear? This is the basic stuff. If you don't know the World Wide Web and you don't know further developments in the World Wide Web, you may not be able to solve this question. That's why we need to add various developments till date with the static part to solve all the questions in the science and technology. If we read the statements given, Web 3.0 technology enables people to control their own data. This requires some deeper knowledge of difference between World Wide Web of earlier generation and the third generation. Let me explain you briefly. WWW 3.0, how it is different from its earlier generation. It is a decentralized system. Decentralized means it can be controlled by the users. It is a bottom-up platform, bottom-up system in which blockchain technology is used. Blockchain technology. We will be discussing about this technology in our classes, but here briefly, this much information is sufficient to solve this question, that this is decentralized based on blockchain technology. With this much information, let us read the statements. Web 3.0 technology enables people to control their own data. This is what I stated, highly decentralized. Second statement is there can be blockchain based social networks. It is all about blockchain only. That's why bottom up approach is used, because you can trace the contacts from where the information is shared on the network. Third statement is Web 3.0 is operated by users collectively rather than a corporation. Right? This is where blockchain technology basics will come into play. We will be discussing all these basics. Here you can see the information is coming from different areas, different themes, and they are intermixed, they are like pulled from different themes in a single question. So many times you require diverse kind of information from different topics in a single question. And next question is question number 12. It's about SaaS, software as a service. This is a subtopic in the cloud computing. Like cloud computing, again different layers of information is required in this question. Software as a service, cloud computing. In this SaaS, a user or a customer uses software on the cloud. Okay, for example, we know Microsoft 365, Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office is used online. If you are not a buyer of the software, you can use it freely online. You can understand from this example about the given statements. SaaS buyers can customize their user interface and can change data fields. Absolutely right. You know, you can change how MS Word is looking to you. Interface means user interface, how it appears to the user. You can change it. You can change the color. You can change the format. You can change the size. You can regulate it from your end only. And you can change the data fields. In the MS Excel, you can change the data. You can create a bar. You can create graph. So it can be done. Second statement, users can access their data through their mobile devices. Yes, same example can be used. And this is what I stated just now. All the given statements are right. See, again, preciseness of information is required. If you know precisely what does this mean, you can easily solve the question. And the last question is, which one of the following statements best reflects the idea behind fractional orbital bombardment system? This is a current affairs topic entirely. No doubt you are required some basic information, but more than basic information, you must be aware of this term when it came in the news. So we will be targeting these kind of questions in the classes. Here briefly, this is a kind of warhead. How it operates. Its operation is mentioned in these statements. This system operates. First, a missile is installed in the low Earth orbit. Low Earth orbit, a missile is installed, and when we have to attack, we want it to attack on a target on the ground. We will deorbit this missile, and we will guide it on the target on the ground. Basically, this is the system. We must know this kind of simple understanding. The basic thing is that if you are clear about the main concept in a very, very simple way, then you can solve the questions. You will not be in a panic state in the exam hall. By that much information, you will be able to solve this question. It is a missile which is put into the stable orbit around the Earth and deorbited over a target on the Earth. And hence, statement C is the right answer. So, in today's lecture, we tried to discuss all the conceptual things, different challenges, and how we are going to tackle our science and technology part at the Plutus IAS. I hope all of you have got a brief idea how we should read science and technology for the UPSC for the prelims exam. And in the next class, we will be covering the science and technology part for the mains perspective. From the mains perspective, I will be discussing the various questions asked in the exam in the paper 3 by the UPSC, and I will be giving you the content, how our classes will be going to help you in writing those questions in the exam setting. Thank you very much.